Welcome everyone to FDI class number 3. We're going into customer engagement and design documentation. Super excited to have everyone here. I think this might be our best class yet, so let's kick it off and find out. And of course, the man who needs no introduction, but I'm going to introduce him anyways. We have our class defender, El Nivelador here. Amar, I wasn't sure if you had a question or not. Remember, if you've got a question, if you're in video, raise your hand, either digitally or IRL. If you're in the Twitch chat, put a whole bunch of question marks in front of your question, and we'll be able to find them super quick. This is a dynamic, interactive class. It's okay, Amar, but you do that one more time. I tell you, you and me are going to have words. All right, kicking things off. So, whole bunch of class updates. We got a big update for our curriculum based on feedback from the students and ongoing discussion. We got a whole bunch of Discord updates. FDI Design Labs has an update. FDI Live is now official, November 9th. Going to be hearing a lot more about that. Also, fun update from the Alberta Game Series. Let's jump into it. Okay, curriculum update. Our class's growth is overwhelming. We are, I wouldn't be surprised if we're at 1,500 right now. We're growing at a rate of about 200 a week. And I don't want to stop that or limit it, but it means I'm doing a lot of work back here to structure everything to support that growth. I appreciate everyone's patience. One of the big problems we realized, though, is things are moving so fast here. That curriculum I wrote about 2 months ago, it just no longer meets our needs. Looking at it and discussing it with other game development professionals, people in the industry, what we want to do is, since the curriculum's rapidly becoming out of date with how fast things are moving, we're switching over to what I'm calling an agile curriculum. That's right. We are going to be our overall goal of student success, and you guys starting your design careers, that's still the goal. Remember I said about your emotional, philosophical goals for this? We're high energy, we're intense, we're exciting, we're driven, and we're here to help you guys succeed. That's the goal. How we're achieving that, the path there, we will be, sometimes words fail. We will be course correcting as needed week to week. We will be using the old course curriculum as a guide, but we will be pivoting away from it as needed. That's huge. Thank you. All right, sweet. So yeah, we've got some really cool shit coming up, and some of the stuff that it may seem small, but some of these conversations these are months and months of dialogue to get some of these people at the table. It's been really cool. All right, moving on. I don't know if you guys have noticed, Discord's undergone a whole bunch of changes. So sat down with a bunch of people from the community. We went and really want to reevaluate how we're approaching Discord and to make it a lot more valuable to you guys. So our goal with Discord, we don't really want Discord to be like a clubhouse to hang out and chat about video games. There's so many channels for that. You guys probably have a ton you're already a member of. Once again, we want this to be about facilitating your success as designers. We want to have a Discord pipeline, a Discord community that is supporting the whole designer lifecycle, from you becoming a student, to you starting your career, becoming a professional designer, to you revisiting the community again to become a mentor and iterating on your own designs and experimental design concepts. I'm going to be starting to implement some of that stuff myself. I love designing things. It's a lot of fun. It's great. It's, this class is a huge design exercise. It's been great. So that new structure will be coming online. You're going to see some of it currently in the updated Discord. And in Discord, like this entire thing, we are updating this stuff every week to better suit your guys' needs. Are we going to work in sprints? Yes, we are working in sprints. We'll be putting that together. I could be working in sprints as well. We're putting in a thing where, paladins, you guys are going to give me homework. And I got to get that homework done. And that homework's going to be making the class better and making sure that things are, the process is streamlined and smooth. All right. Another thing is we've now got our paladins integrated into the Discord. So paladins will have gold names. They're there to help support you guys and help maintain the overall health and quality of our community. They're here to facilitate this whole entire pipeline here. So if you see someone with a gold name, they're a paladin, they're there to help you. And also paladins, you're there to make sure that I'm accountable and that anything, if I'm dropping the ball, you're set to say, hey, Matt, what the fuck, man? You go pick up that ball and get back in the game. Paladin applications are still open. If you want to join us as a paladin, absolutely. All right, sweet. Carrying on. Another Discord update we have a new onboarding process for our Discord. I just realized I had a mouse cursor on the screenshot there. That was my bad there. Occasionally those things slip through. And of course, design's about these small details. All right, so for the Discord onboarding, it's to help kind of orient you towards those three goals of like either I'm like brand new here, or I want to become a student, or I'm looking at establishing my very first job in the industry, or I'm a seasoned veteran. I just want to come in here and check out about FDI and just chat about stuff. All right. So FDI Design Labs. So we're almost got it ready for this week. I'm going to take a little bit more time on this thing to really get it properly structured. It's become a bit more ambitious. So the general structure is going to be like this will be driven through the Discord community. There'll be elements of it in Discord, elements that are external to Discord. But effectively how it's going to work is that you are going to present a design concept. It could be a game you're working on. It could be a door handle. It could be anything you want to design. We're keeping design very broad here because good game design is just good design. So you're going to present a concept. If that concept's approved, we're going to give you dedicated resources to discuss it, where you'll receive feedback, and your goal is to be iterating on that feedback. So like one of the things I want to, I'm going to engage in this myself. I want to look at redesigning the game controller. Look at a redesign for this guy here. Remember we said, 93% of people just aren't playing games on a dedicated device? This guy right here might be a bit of an issue, but this is the fun thing. It's still got to support all your current games. So I got some interesting thoughts on that. It will be subtle and surprisingly minimal, but very impactful. But that'll be one of the projects I will be pitching as part of FDI Design Labs. Oh yeah, you can submit a design at any time. We want to keep this open and active. We do want to have a light vetting process, kind of like I'm trying to remember exactly what Steam does now. Yeah, Steam you still have to vet your stuff on Steam. It's a light process. We're going to be doing something like that. We don't want, this to be potentially littered with people just like being up late at night drinking, be like, it'd be crazy. Let's do a design with all this stuff. You got to, as part of the pitch process, you got to show at least some artifacts of the design that people can look at and say, yeah, that makes sense. And then you're going to be regularly iterating on it to improve the design based on community feedback.
Are they going to be able to submit a design at any time, or will there be specific times?
You'll be able to submit a design at any time. We're going to keep this as open as possible. So far, honestly, the FDI community's been outstanding. It was great. At AGS, I was just talking with other educators. I'm like, oh man, you should see our students. They are fucking phenomenal. All this stuff. I don't think you guys realize the amount of mileage you guys have already traveled and how positively you guys have been engaging in the assignments and the community. And this has been great. And I really want to keep this going, but I trust you guys to be able to be mature, be responsible, be professional. Again, this is a professional community. A lot of places out there you can, hang out and scream your head off. We're here to help your career and help your success. So we are all professionals here. Okay, cool. So there was some stutter there, but I think that actually might be on your side. Romance Girl. Love the title, by the way. Okay. The slide. So we are doing FDI Live. Edmonton Unlimited has agreed to allow us to do a live event at their location in downtown Edmonton. It's a phenomenal venue. I'm really excited about hosting the event. We're going to start doing some promos, and we'll be sending out Eventbrite invites. We want to get a sense of how many people will be attending. We are going to try to make this a full day thing. It'll be 2 hours at Edmonton Unlimited, and then we're going to be going out into the city of Edmonton. We're going to be checking out game studios. We're going to be going to restaurants. Going to get everyone together for there's a great hip hop concert that's happening with Cadence Weapon. So we're going to go check out that. But yeah, it should be a ton of fun. I can't wait to see you guys there. Very steep learning curve. Yes, there is a very steep learning curve. That's part of the brand. The steep learning curve on this side as well. And that's what makes this stuff fun. It's like, you know what? You guys are all playing Dark Souls for a reason. We can lean into that. All right, El Nivelador, you got a question?
Another question from chat.
Yes.
If they miss homework for a week, can they still resubmit it or submit it with the current homework?
Oh, all the homework has to be submitted through its dedicated submission forms. That activates a whole entire organization process and filing process and all that kind of stuff. So as long as you're submitting it through the submission forms, and then we'll also tag when they were submitted, so I'll see just how how on time you guys were. We're being very flexible with these submission dates because, like, man, life happens, and I've been on projects where we've had like key members, and all of a sudden, like a family member's had a health crisis or something like that, and we're always able to be agile within reason. If it's like, well, I didn't feel like doing it, it's like, well, that's a problem. But we want to keep this stuff as flexible as possible. So I'm not going to give you guys any specific guidelines. If people come to the class very late, but they're hustling through this stuff, that's great. We'll be going into our more formal homework structure in this class, and you'll see how we're going to be evaluating this stuff and how we'll be checking the progress you guys have made.
We have another question from
Yes.
chat. Is for the live event, they're assuming nothing but the class will be streamed.
Yes, nothing but the class will be streamed. So just this class will be streamed. All the other stuff, we might do some little video uploads, or maybe, that's an excellent question. This is us being agile. I can't. Part of me would love to be able to like pop on online and give you guys updates. You know what we're going to do? We're going to be updating this via the Discord. Is during FDI Live, we will have a dedicated Discord channel for FDI Live events, and we'll be posting pictures and updates and information about what's happening with FDI Live as it happens. At the end, I would like us to be able to put together a little trailer, just kind of recapping what happened during the event. But that's all WIP, baby. All right. All right. And okay, carrying on. All right, so I just did Alberta Game Series, big game conference here in Alberta, and I met with Michael Chokash, the very first FDI student from about 10 months ago. Michael had some work working as an illustrator in the games industry, but hadn't actually made a game. So he engaged in our game professional program, the very first, like he was effectively our alpha tester. And we just got him making a game in about 4 months. He's been working on it ever since. He's now going to be launching it as part of the Steam Next Fest that's coming up. Demoed it at Alberta Game Series. He just made his own game. He's running his own little game company. He's now starting to pitch about his second game and raising funding for that at a conference here in Banff, Alberta. So very excited. And we're going to continue those success stories. I think, all of our students are now employed in the industry, and I believe, of that class, 75% have shipped a game. The other one is working actively in the industry and working towards shipping his first game. All right. Will virtual production films count as design projects? Yes, virtual production films will count as design projects. Sorry, Amar, you had your hand up. I just realized that went down.
Sorry, I think I clicked the clap button, and I think
Oh,
that's
no
what was
worries.
showing.
No worries. Cool. All right. So yes, so the FDI Design Labs, I want that to be any kind of design. If you're solving a customer problem, if it's a process or a product, or even heck, even if it's fashion, those count as design. That's still building those design muscles. That stuff circles back into effective design work. All right. Carrying on. All right, but there's some pretty fantastic news I want to share with you guys. I don't know if you guys realize, but last week, someone uploaded a video to the internet of a puppy snuggling a baby deer, and these guys are friends. And I'm just saying, like, I love that you guys are here, but you can either be schlubbing it here with me, or you can go to YouTube and check out videos of dogs snuggling with baby deers. It's fine. I'll give you guys a few seconds to think. Do you really want to be here? Because, like, there's puppies and baby deers being best friends out there on the internet. You could be hanging out with that. All right. Giving you some time. This is the point of no return. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Guys are stuck with me now. Here we go. All right, we are jumping into player engagement and design documentation. Yeah, you can't leave now. You're stuck. I close the doors behind you. Steel cage match of design intensity about player engagement and design documentation. All right, so player engagement is about keeping the players' attention and interest. I feel like engagement's become kind of a dirty word, but it's still important. It's one of those things like fun. Some people bristle at it in the industry, but it's like, come on, man, what else are you going to call it? It's like, we want people having fun. We want them engaged in what they're doing. Fun and engagement are subtle, so I keep them as different. Or sorry, there are subtle differences between them, but they're important differences. So I approach them as different concepts. And then, of course, getting into design documentation, which is probably very different than a lot of people think. Even people, I think, in the industry are following very outdated modes of design documentation. Nothing is cuter than player engagement and design documentation from the chat. Yes, that's right. Like, oh, just look at that. I just want to pinch its little cheeks and scratch its chin. All right, diving in. Keeping players engaged. Important rule of thumb with this. Something a lot of people don't realize. A good game is more not bad than it is good. What I mean by that is people are very sensitive to negative experiences. It's something we just developed for evolution. It is, the thing is that if I am hypersensitive to threat, I will avoid threat more often. I will generally survive for longer, pass on my genes, and this becomes evolutionarily hardwired. Now, there's a balance there. You can be way too sensitive to negative feedback, but generally, I think the balance they find is about 6-1. So if you have a negative experience and a positive experience of similar volume or intensity, you will need 6 of those positive interactions to cancel out one negative interaction. A lot of people will engage with your game based on subconscious emotional calculus. So if they're thinking, there's a lot of stuff in that game that's bugging me, like if you have one of those negative things, you have 6 positive things just to make it even. So generally when I'm working on a game's design, as much as I want to have cool features and that kind of stuff, I'm really focused on points of friction. Like, that's why we have a feedback bar at the top of this thing. So if you guys are having a problem, I want to know, because I know how sensitive people can be to even small negative elements. If there's something you don't like, let me know. We'll get that stuff addressed. All right. So yeah, the negative elements of your game will dominate the experience. So I want to give you a quick example of this. So I want you guys just to go into the theater of the mind. I want you guys to imagine a meal. Best meal ever. That's a nice steak dinner or whatever your favorite is. For example, because we're in Alberta, we're going with a nice steak dinner. Perfectly done steak, lovely restaurant, amazing potatoes, super tasty. nice light salad there. Perhaps you got like a nice glass of red wine or a good lager or something like that. It's just an awesome meal. But you know what? There's something special about this meal, something unexpected. It's an experimental restaurant. They're trying something new, and they've given you an extra. And right there, sitting on the top of your steak, is a single, solitary, carefully sanitized human tooth. How are you guys feeling about the meal now? Will you touch anything that's on that plate? Yeah, absolutely. And that's the exact cognitive hardware there. It's like if there's a negative experience, it will pollute all the positive stuff around it. Even if that tooth was in a bowl next to the plate, you would still feel like the plate had been contaminated somehow. And like you can argue rational and logic. The chef could come out and show you the entire process of them sanitizing the tooth and like show you a what would it be a like it's just information that the tooth is clean and sanitized. You still wouldn't touch it. It's just gross. You're just like, oh, that's just weird. This is the thing you have to keep in mind with negative experiences. Unclear hit reactions, poor mission objectives, bad frame rates. All of these are little tiny human teeth on top of your delicious gaming steak. One smelly fish makes all the fishes in the pot go bad, says chat. Absolutely. All right. So the thing is that since negative experience is so important, what's a good way of determining and identifying negative experience? Actually, I'm gonna make a quick adjustment here. I've got sun coming right into my eyes. All right, I think it's gonna be close enough. All right, cool. All right, so best way of telling how players don't like it, or determining what players don't like about your game. Play testing. And this is a bit more of an advanced concept. I want to get into it right now because honestly, it's one of those things where like how we're structuring this program is I'm trying to have it that we're dealing with the most important concepts up front so that you can be thinking about the stuff through the entire program. Play testing is so critical to the development of your game as much as like people wanted to think that they're just going to make the game in a secret lab, and when it comes out, it's going to be amazing. Probably a lot of those games that you played that you loved went through a very thorough play testing process, and it's something that's becoming more popular. It's now actually become a requirement for any project that I'm designing on. It's like, man, we are play testing so quickly, and it's when we're uncomfortable and things aren't great, and we know it's a bad game, but we want to make sure that we are very aware of what players like and don't like about our game. How will we simulate the playtesting during classes? That's a good question. We'll be getting to that a little bit later on, but we have integrated part of that. All right, so playtesting. Two big benefits out of it. One is you'll be able to determine where friction is occurring. And the second is you get to see what play patterns emerge. So sometimes just like, you will think that you've made a wonderful environmental exploration RPG, and really everyone just keeps interacting with your inventory system and just moving stuff around and constantly playing inventory Tetris and having fun while they're doing it. And you're like, you know what? Screw it. Let's just lean into our inventory system. People love it. Let's bring some of that stuff in, I'm always astounded at what playtesters uncover. Like features I've looked at for like literally years. We'll get a playtester in, and they're like, yeah, that they will use it completely incorrectly. And you can never blame the playtester. I gotta be all right. If they played it incorrectly, there's gonna be thousands of other players that are also confused by this. So it's probably more so that I just got too comfortable with that design and got blinders on about it than the playtester is doing it wrong. Okay, so diving into an effective playtest process, because there's some very important steps here. So first one is you playtest someone who has fresh eyes in the game. They haven't played it before, or they haven't played it in a long time. this is the problem I see with some big companies. It's like their play tester will always be the same executive or the same producer. And it's like, dude, you've been playing this game nonstop for 3 years. You have no sense of objectivity. You have no idea what the player is. And that's not a flaw. It's just how things go. People will constantly be correcting for their current position, but all of your players, quite frankly, 100% of your players will play the game for the first time. That's the universal experience. So you want to get that first time experience as nailed down and polished as possible. Those first 5 minutes are crucial. So you'll always want someone who's new playing the game. Or like I said, someone who hasn't seen it in a long time if you can't get someone brand new. Second step is while they're playing the game, have them play the game unguided. Don't tell them anything. Unless there's something absolutely critical they need to know. As in, if you press this button, the game will crash. We couldn't get it fixed. Please don't press that button. That you can tell them. Anything else, you are going to start polluting the game playtest, and you will be perhaps subconsciously reducing its effectiveness in some pretty key ways. So have them play the game unguided and also ask them to play it out loud. It's just have them thinking out loud, like, oh, what does this do? Oh, that was neat. What's going on over here? Why can't I go behind that waterfall? All those kinds of things. And you don't talk to them. You just listen to them ramble, hear them talk, record the session. And you want to be carefully watching both the player's face and what's on screen. Because like you're looking for like, little ooh. You're looking for that kind of stuff, and that stuff can be so subtle, but like you want those emotional reactions. I had a wonderful moment of that actually I've started doing this at the design documentation level now, where I play test my design documents. So I'll just give someone a design document and I'll just be like, all right, tell me what you think. And there's a project I'm pitching. El Nivelador knows what I'm talking about. El Nivelador, we're pitching to Banff in 2 weeks to a very large company. So that's going to be exciting. I'll be giving you guys hopefully some updates about that later on. But I was just giving someone who's a producer the design document. I said, all right, here's the design document. You have 5 seconds with this document before I take it away. And he was reading through it. He's like, and all of a sudden he went, ooh. He grabbed it away from the 5 seconds. But that's what I was looking for, that little emotional reaction. It was great. He just went, ooh. It was fantastic. Like, all right, cool. You like it. The details later on, I'm going to figure out those specifics as we start to develop this thing. Last thing you want to do is ask them for feedback. So they played through the game, they played out loud, they've hit the end of the playtest session, and just be like, all right, what did you think? There's actually, like I generally say, there's 3 key questions you want to have. What did you like? What didn't you like? What would you change? Sometimes there's things they want to change that aren't necessarily likes or dislikes. Any other question I find can be overly guiding their thinking and potentially polluting the playtest feedback process. So I try to keep it limited to those 3. Sometimes there's just really specific questions you'll see. Sometimes things occur in the playtest. You're like, okay, can you tell me why you made this decision or what happened? So the 3 question thing's a soft limit, but usually 80% of the time, those are the 3 questions we enter playtest with. Let me think. Oh yeah, actually, really interesting event I had in a recent playtest is working on a game here with Only by Midnight here in Edmonton, and we're playtesting our game. In the middle of the playtest, it was in the middle. It was the start of the playtest. I just said to the other designers, I said, I just realized all of our playtesters, 80% of our playtesters, when they're given a choice between these 2 doors, always choose the left one. And I have no idea why, but it's like, look, we're now seeing there's a pattern here. There's something about that left door that's drawing them. And it's not a bad thing or a good thing, but it was just one of those things you just wouldn't notice until you've done a lot of these. You start really, wait, everyone goes there. Why is everyone going there? Is there something we're doing that is guiding them subconsciously? Is that something we want to lean into? That's why I love doing playtests. They're so fucking cool, man. Like, you just see the wildest shit. All right. So once again, that's our playtesting process. Get someone playing the game with fresh eyes. Ask them to play the game out loud. Carefully watch the player's face and what's on screen. See what they're doing and how they're reacting to it. And afterwards, you're asking them for feedback. All right, we got a question here. So should you generally not get feedback from playtesters on those very specific things? I would be careful about how you get feedback on specific things, because a lot of that can start framing how they provide feedback to you. Even a playtest is a incomplete illustration of what players will experience, because they know that they're in a room with developers. They will be overly polite. But it's the best option you've got usually. El Nivelador, I'll be right with you. Just a second. Let's see if you got anything else in this one question. Around subjects you came up with beforehand. I would be careful about creating a checklist of things you want to have answered, because that will start to overly structure your thinking and what you're looking for. If you're too focused on combat, you will miss the fact that players are utterly confused by your doors because you're so focused on combat. So go into these playtests very open and just let the playtest tell you what's going on. Don't assume, don't overly analyze. I've even seen giant companies make mistakes like this. They'll do playtests for feature, they'll hyper focus on feature X and feature Y. They didn't realize feature Z everyone hates because they were always looking at X and Y and they were totally blind to Z, and it just tanked their game because people came out and they're like, well, the game sucks because of this, El Nivelador, you had your hand up.
Yeah, just a couple more questions from chat. Twilna asks, after the playnet test, is it okay to ask why you chose that?
Yes, absolutely. And be aware that players will oftentimes not know. But it's good to see them go through the process and think about it.
Next question is asking if you should start them in the middle of your game or a certain point, or drop them at the tutorial or the beginning.
Depends on the part of the game you want them playing. Because if you've got an 8-hour game, you can't have them. It's be very hard to have them playtest the entire game. I would think with playtesting, if you've got deeper content you want them to be playtesting, I would put in the extra legwork to create a custom build to help showcase that content, but being careful not to get it overly structured. So if you have them fighting the last boss, have a build where they start off at the last boss and they're properly leveled up, and maybe put a couple of enemies just before that last boss so that they can get a feel for what their combat's like, instead of just dropping them into the last boss. There's an art here. There really is an art here. But let's see. Okay, sorry. Any other questions? Oh, okay, sorry. I am just collecting my thoughts here. Okay. So again, going back to the question about do we start them with the tutorial? I think starting them with the tutorial can be very good, but sometimes you're just not able to do that. I would try to give them as soft a start to that part of the game as possible.
One more question. Sorry.
Yes.
As an indie,
what
would you consider a good number of minimum playtesters?
As many as you can get. One is fine. If it can be hard to find playtesters, if all you can do is one a week, that's fine. That's what we're doing right now with one of the projects I work on. Every week we have one playtester for half an hour, and it's been great. I try to keep a weekly cadence because there's all sorts of nice fringe benefits there, where the team becomes very focused on weekly goals, shipping, and because the playtest is always so close, everything you do is thinking about that next playtest. So what you're doing, you're constantly just thinking about the customer and what they're going to be doing, and everything just starts to snap into focus. It's great. All right. All right. Carrying on. So again, playtesting is critical. All of these companies do it very intensely. It's going to surprise you guys probably, but the first Half-Life was a bad game until they started playtesting it. The very first, the God of War 2016 reboot, it was so bad they were seriously thinking about canceling it. They started to playtest it. And they started to realize, oh, we don't have a bad game. What we have are 30 to 40 issues that are holding back a really amazing game. Horizon Zero Dawn, similar kind of situation, and the Insomniac Spider-Man titles. Like, a lot of the reasons these games are so good is because they playtest them exhaustively. That was the thing that really impressed me at Rockstar, was like, your work's not done until it's fun. Like, that's just it. Like, you could do everything that's on the checklist. They'll come back and say, hey, I'm not having fun playing this. You got to get back in there. Which is, proof's in the pudding, quite frankly. Oh, yes. Someone mentioned there about using each other in the El Nivelador, actually. Thank you, El Nivelador. Using each other in the Discord community. Absolutely. That's one of the things we want to do with FDI Design Labs. FDI Design Labs, it's all about playtesting. Just so you know, that's the secret sauce. Don't tell anyone. It's a secret between us and the entire internet. So, anyways, going back to so we got a question here. So assuming you're already in the beta test phase, would letting them stream the experience be a good thing to have additional playtesting input? Oh, absolutely. I know so many people that are so scared about the secrets of their game coming out. I'm like, dude, if your game's so dull that someone can watch it and get most of the content out of it, you've got a fundamental issue with your game. Like, I don't want anyone like watching a game and being like, oh, now that I've watched it, I don't have to play it. I want them watching the game and be like, oh, why didn't they do that? I would have been, oh man, I can't wait to do this. Dude, if I was to do, I'd fight the boss this way, or I'd do this character customization, or I'd choose that story path, or all those kinds of things, It's like no one watches Pac-Man and then thinks, oh, good, now we don't have to play Pac-Man. They're like, that looks like fun. I can't wait to play Pac-Man. Okay. GameTester.gg. This was mentioned in the chat, but using GameTester.gg. I'm going to get into that a little bit as well, because there can be some flaws with some of those larger organizations. Yes.
Another question. How do you calculate your resources to appropriately do design, development, and playtesting?
That will depend on where you are in the development process. I generally find 1 hour of playtesting a week, half an hour to 1 hour of playtesting a week is about the right, and then you're going to manage the other resources to help accommodate that. Okay, all right. Carrying on. So, results of playtesting. You will refine negative elements of your game. You'll get that tooth off of the steak. You will develop sensitivity to player friction points. This is one of the best things about playtesting. This is one of the reasons, this actually, I'm now realizing I left out, I think, possibly a really critical element, and that is have everyone in the development team at the playtest, from executive all the way down to like QA, art, programming. Because what I want is everybody on the team focused on player experience. Even if they don't see something immediately that needs their attention, they're just going to they'll be subconsciously aware that, like, man, players really like our combat, or players really don't like this, or they're really finding this system confusing. And it's been great because I'll have just like developers will just message me being, hey, I was thinking, our dialogue system, what if we just move the buttons over here? And it'll be like from a programmer or someone who just doesn't work on it. They've just been thinking about it as a result of the playtest. And also, like, it's also been great for executives because, like, sometimes you get some executives doing a bonehead power move. You can point to the playtest, you know that they were in, and you can say, look, we all know that's going to go against what players are showing us. And, then you're going to have a bit of a hearty discussion. El Nivelador.
Another question, Technomancer. Imagine earlier you identify issues, the faster and cheaper they can be fixed. How do you ensure these issues are resolved before you go into beta and are late in the game?
Through your task tracking. After the play test, we always go into a planning session. So play test, and then you go into planning, and you decide the goals for next week. And so we look at it, and we're like, okay, and oftentimes we're like, hey, that's a problem we've seen in the past 3 play tests. We just are not fixing that yet. That's something we're doing on milestone 5. But for right now, all these other issues you saw, we can absolutely be fixing those. Pick your battles. All right. Anything else we got going on here? All right. So you'll develop sensitivity to player friction points. You'll get that gut instinct, which is just great. Actually, it's one of my favorite things in a design meeting. If I hear someone trusting their gut, and it's got this almost like comically stable structure of feedback, because someone will just kind of embarrassed, put up their hand, and they'll say, okay, this is going to sound really dumb. And as soon as they say that, I'm like, oh, you're listening to your gut. Because the gut comes up with all sorts of weird, random bullshit that's actually really important. And they'll be like, what if the player could just detonate their own head or something weird like that? We're like, okay, that specific thing, no, but let's dig into this. One of my favorite stories about this, about how important it can be to trust your gut and to look at really dumb ideas or seemingly dumb ideas. When Retro was working on Metroid Prime, they would do playtest sessions with Shigeru Miyamoto, and he'd fly in from Kyoto over to Retro I think they're in Austin. And during he did a playtest session. He had to fly back to Kyoto, and he's leaving the studio, and he says to one of the heads, "Oh, by the way, for Metroid Prime, I think Samus should be able to put on a bug's head." And then he just walks out. They're all sitting there being like, "Wait, what does that even mean?" And eventually they're talking about like, well, let's not dismiss that as being crazy. Let's dig into it. Eventually what they realized is he was probably talking about different modes of perspective. And that's where the visor system for Metroid Prime came from. We had like X-ray and ultraviolet and heat and normal vision. Came from that bug's head comment. So like, yeah, that's the thing. If I'm in a playtest, someone says I got a stupid or crazy or dumb idea, those are the ones I love. They are so fucking good. All right. Carrying on. As friction is reduced, engagement increases, play is improved, you'll start to see the fun emerge. It's one of those things that like I think is humbling as a designer. As much as you think your amazing ideas are what's going to make the game fun, you'll oftentimes find it's just improving controller response or clarifying mission objectives or just bolding a font or just making it how doors operates a little better. I had a wonderful moment of this recently working with designers at working with Only by Midnight. We're discussing some playtest concerns, and there was this whole entire right now we're wrestling with a fundamental gameplay issue, and it's a good game, but we're going through it like, all right, we got a bit of cognitive friction here that's pretty foundational. And eventually what we realized is ultimately what we needed was just clearer text highlighting. We didn't need to redesign everything. We just need to make some of these text elements pop just a little more, get the player lingering here just a little bit longer, and then it's going to click, and that they'll now realize this, which guides them here, which guides them here, and that circumvents our whole entire issue we've got. All right, so I want to clarify a couple things regarding what playtesting is not, because I've seen some people do this completely wrong. It is not focus testing. Focus testing is looking at a very specific thing that can be useful, but it also blinds you to probably some of the most important feedback you get from playtesters. It's like I've been on some big projects with some very, very large companies, and they will only focus test. And we'll just be sitting there being like, come on, guys, like we are launching blind. We have no idea what the players actually think about our games. because we keep telling them what to think about our games by saying, hey, what do you think of this? What about that? And we don't realize there's all these other systems that we're comfortable with, that we understand how they work. The players are still wildly confused. I've seen like $100 million projects go out the door with no idea what the player actually likes. It is, shall we say, frustrating. Also, another thing, just don't pull in your most active community members. Another playtesting error, they're like, man, we got like all the top puzzle game YouTubers or Twitch streamers or what have you. I'm like, dude, what you've gotten now is a bunch of people who by default love what you make. They don't have perspective. You've effectively asked people who love chocolate, hey, do you like this chocolate? Yeah, of course they love it. It's chocolate. They love all chocolate, So don't just be pulling from active community members. Sprinkle a few of those in there, but realize these are people that will probably like your game regardless. They may be grumpy about it, but they will buy and play your game because they buy and play all these games. You want to get the people that are on the fence about this kind of stuff. That's how you grow your community. That's how you drive a great game. El Nivlador.
Question from chat. What did you say was the difference with focus testing again?
Oh, focus testing is you're looking for a specific issue. Hey, what do you think of combat? What do you think of multiplayer? We want you just using this one weapon. Those kinds of things. Generally, if I wanted to get feedback on a weapon, a specific feature, I would make a custom playtest build. The player starts. There's a dead enemy. There's a cool weapon next to the dead enemy. And they'll be like, so what do you want to do? And like, it's one of those things, if they don't pick up the weapon or they completely ignore it, it is telling me there's a foundational psychological issue that is making that weapon uninteresting. It doesn't matter what we do with that weapon if players don't want to interact with the weapon. If we're giving them a tool that they don't want to use, it doesn't matter how good that tool is. They don't want to use it. So I need to see them wanting to use that tool naturally.
Couple more questions from chat. Should you do your plays testing outside of the demographic or within the demographic?
Yeah, outside the demographics best. I honestly do it both, but I love getting people who don't like the game because what's really fucking cool is like when you get someone who doesn't like a first-person shooter, but they like your first-person shooter, and other first-person shooter fans also like it, that is a fucking awesome place to be. It's like Johnny Cash. Most people, or I want to say most people, a lot of people don't like country and western. A lot more people love Johnny Cash, It's like a lot of people don't get into heavy metal. A lot of people like Led Zeppelin. There's about learning how to cross those boundaries is really how you make phenomenally legendary stuff.
Well, one person in the chat asked, do playtesters get paid sometimes, which is yes.
If playtesters get paid sometimes they do. I'm always very careful about incentives. Like, actually, here's the thing. If you are demoing your game at a convention, don't have free stuff at your booth. I do not want people showing up at the booth for my game so they get a chocolate bar or a sticker or that kind of thing, or a t-shirt. I want them there exclusively for the game. And I want them focused 100% on the game. And I know people are like, well, you get less booth traffic. You do, but I would argue in the end, it all comes out the same because you're not getting players at your booth. You're getting people who want a sticker, people who want a t-shirt. And they're going to sit down, grab their t-shirt, spend a nominal amount of time with their game, and then just fuck off and be like, yeah, I got my free t-shirt. You don't get good feedback from those people. And it's not that they're flawed. It's that you've miscalculated their incentives. You can do things with having like a high scoreboard or that kind of thing. But again, you're perhaps overly framing their experience. It's a very, very careful and subtle dance you're doing with your playtesters here. All right.
Couple more questions. One speaks to the demographic again, asking, is it smart to go to your opposing community if you're doing a apocalyptic RPG, but you get people to play test who only play comfy games?
Oh, totally. And like, so I want to jump into this. Do you play test? playtesters are not playtesters directly telling you how to make the game. If they are playing your post-apocalyptic RPG and saying this needs to be a cozy game, well, that's not the game we're making. But perhaps they're like, you know what? I feel like there's no hope in this world, and I just don't want to be here. It's like, okay, maybe we pull something in. One of my favorite, like, you know, let me see. I'll be careful with my words here. I've seen some post-apocalyptic games where like you've got like these worlds where just everyone is constantly upset all the time, and people just constantly talking about how terrible things are. Man, this is bad. Oh, I'm so sad. World's been mean to me, and I'm sad because of it. I'm just go over here and I'll talk about the other person, how depressed we are. And you get that for like 12 hours. But if you look at like some great post-apocalyptic depictions in other media, like George Romero in Mad Max Fury Road focused on beauty. He's like, there's probably going to be a lot of things. While this is a terrible nightmare world, uh, people will try to find beauty where they can, and that's great. Or like my favorite, post-apocalyptic exchanges is the film Logan when Wolverine's talking with Cal- Callaghan. What is that? What is that
Caliban.
unit's name? Pardon?
Caliban.
Caliban. Thank you. Thank you. Talking about Caliban. They argue like a married couple. It was so much fun. And it's like, yeah, they're upset and depressed. They're talking about like suicide. But I'm like, oh my god, these are actual personalities here, and like, I would kind of like to hang out with a beer for both with both hang out for a beer with both of these people. All right, so like I said,
Dude,
that's the kind of stuff that your outside demographic can help illustrate.
Twyline asks, what percentage of playtesters must give a negative feedback about a feature for it to be changed? And what if they don't like a core mechanic or underlying emotional base philosophy of the game? Do you go back to the drawing board?
Good question. My feedback on this is like every bit of feedback, we carefully examine it. The Okay, this is going in a bit of a tangent here, but I'll pull this back in. I've been looking very carefully at the communication patterns of EMTs, so emergency medical technicians, because it's really interesting because they've got critical issues, they have to diagnose it fast, work really fast, and they do it almost entirely verbally. And that's the thing. I think as a designer, I kind of think of myself as an EMT. I'm like, okay, like, what's the problem you're having? Okay, there's a problem here. Is it this? Is it this? Did this happen? Is this thing over here? But if I'm like helping someone with a heart attack and they mention their foot hurts, I'm paying attention to that. I'm like, okay, that's something I wasn't expecting. What do you mean by your foot hurts? Is that like potential diabetic onset? Does this person have diabetes and you didn't tell me? Do they not realize they have diabetes? Is this all these systems interact, these little tiny things that perhaps only one person mentions or it feels like it's out of left field, all this stuff connects in very complex systems. So I'm paying attention to all of this stuff. You don't act on most of it, but you're paying attention to most of it, to all of it, sorry. Because you can't do everything a playtest tells you, or else you would just be running in circles constantly. All right, David, you've had your hand up so patiently.
Yeah, thank you. Going back, to the not giving out free things at your booth. Would you recommend just not having a playtester booth, or not focusing on getting player feedback from those events, and
Oh,
instead like taking in feedback as you get it?
okay. I love feedback from conventions, like especially if it's a convention that isn't gaming related. Because like one of my favorite playtest sessions when I was being an indie was like demoing my game at a festival where like people would come off the Ferris wheel with their cotton candy, they'd be stumbling back and a video game? Oh, I like video games. Let me try what this thing's about. And it was like, yeah, they were coming in focused on something else, and they just like were a little bored, so they're playing this game. And I got really honest, really direct feedback from them. I think playtesting during a convention is so good because it can be such a shotgun of random people. It's fantastic. But I think you really want to have a regular playtesting cadence, though. David, does that answer your question?
Yes, to a degree. I
Okay.
also so like if you are to remove like the incentives to actually come to your booth, like the free giveaways or whatever, how would you recommend like increasing traction to the booth without having those
Oh,
things?
this is a subtle thing, and like this is some inside baseball here. Make a good game. Make a good game people want to play. If you're at a booth and no one's playing your game, that's a big fucking source of feedback.
Mm,
Getting out a t-shirt, if you got a shitty game, it's still a shitty game, but now people have a t-shirt.
true.
Yeah, sorry, just like I see people who will bankrupt themselves chasing after poor customer feedback. It's so upsetting. So
Mm.
like I'm a little salty on this for a reason, because I've been there and I had to talk to people about, like, so I got to move back in with my parents. It's like, dude, if you just followed some of these basics, you would have spotted this stuff so much earlier.
Cool.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. And also another thing, this is also a chance for you to flex your marketing. That's another key thing. And that's another thing we're going to be talking about later on in the program, is the importance of marketing. Like this thing, I'm actually pivoting into a marketing role now because it is so critical. I know I can design, I know I can do that, but man, honestly, if I had a choice between the world's greatest game and no one played it and a mediocre game that was well marketed, I will take mediocre game well marketed every time, because people are actually using your product then. If people aren't using your product, have you really made anything? Like, sure thing, I got paid and I had fun making it, but if I'm making it for someone, if they're not playing it, then mission failed, man. I want them playing my thing. So that's why I'm so interested in marketing, because that pulls people in, gets them engaged, gets them excited. All of this, this is all marketing. This is all marketing, man. Like, that's one of the reasons I think we've got such a good engagement on this, is like a lot of careful chess moves, a lot more stuff to come as well. All right. So another important thing with playtesting, fans are not playtesters. I know I had to mention this earlier, but I want to hammer it home. This guy who's going to love every single Nintendo game, he's going to buy every single Nintendo game, he is not impartial. What you want, just randomized average people. Great playtesting story I heard with the guys who did Job Simulator. They worked above a grocery store. They would just go down to the grocery store, ask people if they wanted to try a VR game. Totally random, great control group. And that's one of the reasons their game was so good, is because they got so much feedback about every single element. This is confusing. I wish that was clear. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. How does a VR headset even work? There's a VR game I was working on, and we actually did a lot of work, a lot of effort into making sure people understood what VR was before we actually, without us having to tell them specifically how it worked. It was kind of funny. I remember late one night, one of our producers changed the onboarding. Like, we had like step 1, 2, 3, 4. He swapped steps like 3 and 4, and we went live for a demo, for a convention with that updated build, and it was amazing. Everyone was now confused. Everyone get into gameplay, and they would be like, "What the heck? How does this even work?" And they would get frustrated and leave, because like that onboarding we had worked so carefully on by testing with randomized average people, that flow had gotten broken, and people just went into the game confused. The entire game kind of just fell apart with that.
We have a
Yes,
question.
Elidor.
Question from chat. What are the pros and cons of using other game designers as playtesters?
Other game designers as playtesters can be very useful for really bespoke things. Like, this is the thing. So actually, excellent point. So I think other game designers as playtesters, I think that is where I would flip some of this logic. I would actually give them bespoke information. But as a professional playtest or professional designer, if I'm playtesting someone's game, I am thinking about the whole entire process. They're asking me to look at combat, and I'm just like, yeah, your main menu sucks, and I don't know how to start a new game. I'm like, what player's going to get past that? They're going to get to your main menu, get confused, maybe stumble in, but the third or fourth time they got to go through this flow, they will start resenting you and leaving. This was what a bit of feedback. I should have grabbed this person by the lapels and shook them a lot harder. was an indie developer. They were working on a mobile game. And when you start the game, it says this game was created using ethical development and no one had to do any overtime. And you see that every single time you start the game. That's an excellent initiative. That is very important. Your player doesn't care, though. Some people possibly do, but honestly, your average player doesn't care. They're just there to have fun. But every single time they start to launch the game, you're sitting there saying, by the way, look at this. I even feel this way about like fucking long company logos. Like, oh, it's so cool, man. The new Zelda, what's that new Zelda game that just came out? Someone in chat help me. The new Zelda game that just came out or is coming out very soon. Echoes of Wisdom, yes. You hit start on that, it drops you directly into gameplay. No Nintendo logo, nothing. It's just boom, start playing. Yes, that is fucking awesome. Put your logos as an overlay up in the corner or what have you. Like, I think there's a limitation regarding like perhaps you need an epilepsy warning, but like I would love to see that with more games. It's just like press the button and it just drops me right in. Oh God, okay, this is another one. I'm gonna rant a little bit here. Hollywood has got a cash flow problem with like a lot of like streaming is less lucrative than movie ticket sales and physical media. I really like streaming as a customer. It's great, but I also understand it's pulling revenue out. What I'd really like is when I spend $30 buying a Blu-ray or a 4K of your movie, don't spend 2 minutes telling me not to pirate it and then advertising me stuff I'm not interested in. Just if you want to be selling more of the stuff, reduce that friction. Just let people jump into the project. Don't sit there and say, by the way, you better not steal this, and we will tell you this every single time you start. It doesn't work, man. And it is alienating paying customers and it's rewarding pirates because you know what doesn't have that fucking warning? The pirated version of that thing. All right. All right. Actually, good question here. How do you think a developer should handle it if feedback feels a bit off or tough to hear? Oh, dude. Fucking as a designer, just be like, yeah, right in the chin, baby. Give it to me. Just fucking. Take your hits. They're so valuable. One of my favorite bits of feedback. I got this guy who's a bit of a professional mentor and guru of mine. I was talking to him about the class, and we're talking about, we got all these students and stuff. He says, let me see your website. I'm like, all right, here it is. He opens it up and goes, well, that's shit. I was like, oh, he's like, so like you did this like a weekend? I'm like, I worked on that for 2 months. He was like, oh, well, it's shit. Okay. There's a new website coming because the current one's shit. Please use it. For God's sakes, please use it. But let me know if you run into some problems. We're trying. Right now, the website's very utilitarian, but we'll make it into something a lot more elegant going forwards. But like, yeah, it's just, come on, man. You want people telling you your stuff shit. Like, do you want to, like, if playtesters are constantly telling you that they love everything, I would start to get concerned. And I've been on projects like that where it's like, look at, if it's great that everything's going great, but perhaps we're not challenging ourselves enough, or we're not getting good playtesters, or we are perhaps, what would it be, biasing the playtesters in a more positive way, so we are not getting authentic feedback. All right, Harshad.
So as you get along with development and you're reaching the date of release and you're playtesting, at what point do you say that, okay, we can't really incorporate feedback, or you stop playtesting because you have a release to make and you might be able to push it back, might not be able to push it back. So how do you navigate
never hit that phase. You never hit that phase.
Okay.
You are always taking mental notes. You're always thinking about it. And this is the thing. As you get better as a designer, you will start to learn like designer jujitsu moves. That's the thing with like that project I'm working on, and us realizing we had a huge design problem that we could either redesign the entire game or we could just modify the text. you know.
Right.
But you have to be aware of those. You have to be thinking about that. We're going to go into conscious versus subconscious processing later on, but like it's once you learn to embrace that stuff, like this will sound crazy, but it's like the Force or like being able to see the Matrix. You will be able to pull off such amazing things. You're just like, oh, I will just tweak that, and suddenly everything snaps into focus. It's fantastic. It's so much fun.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. What's a good play tester? What's a good play tester? Someone who is new and communicates well. Even if they cannot communicate entirely verbally, as long as they're trying to communicate. Sometimes it's like, throw it on controller. Well, that's bullshit. I hate it. Like, cool. All right. We now know you hate that. Perhaps it's a little finicky, but okay. It's like, so one of the things I do is as I do some charity work, we will hand out care packages. And if I give it to someone who cannot communicate verbally, I'm at least looking at what they do, because I will say, hey, do you like this? Do you like this? Do you like this? And sometimes they'll be like, and I'm like, okay, we got some feedback there. Perhaps not super verbal, but I understand. I understand what you're doing, God, this is an aside. This is a design thing that just blew my mind. I was giving a care package out to someone who was a very aggressive schizophrenic. So the guy punching himself and screaming and that kind of stuff. I actually like working with those people because it really challenges me, but got him to calm down and stop hitting himself because he realized I wanted to help him. Remember, we're here to help. I showed him the entire care package, and he liked it all, gave it to him, went away, did a couple more care package distributions, coming back. I noticed the care package is now in the middle of the sidewalk, and this guy's like half a block away. So I run up to him with the care package, like, hey, Dan, you dropped this. That's for you. You keep it. I go off and do it again, come back, care package at the same spot in the sidewalk. I was like, okay, that's weird. I looked at it, and I noticed certain things have been removed from the care package. And I'm like, oh, I think what this guy's doing is he's like, everything's good in this. I can only use these two things. Someone else gets the rest of it. He just couldn't tell me that because he just wasn't verbal. But like, yeah, it was just, it was so cool seeing that. I think that's what he was trying to do. I'm not sure. But like, that care package right in the middle of the traffic flow on a sidewalk, and he always put it right back in the exact same location. So like, there was something there. If it was just in discarding it, I would expect it to be in a corner or right where I had given it to him. Like, he looked at it, says, no, I don't want it, throws it aside. But he was like, nope, not for me. I will put it here so other people notice it. And user feedback, baby.
Hey, Matt.
All right. Oh, yes.
The chat is asking, is it mandatory to have the seizure and epilepsy warning in games?
I believe so. I believe that is actually a platform requirement. I don't think it's a legal requirement. And I really should know these things, but that was honestly always something that was handled by a different team member. But that's a really good question. But I believe that is a platform holder requirement. Okay. All right. Any other questions we got?
What form does asking follow-up questions for playtester feedback come in? Do tabs talk to playtesters directly, or would it reduce bias in having them fill out questionnaires?
Oh, I would be very cautious about having playtesters playing the game and I can't watch them. Because when playtesters give you verbal feedback, they are thinking about the most recent thing that bothered them or the most recent element of the recent thing they reacted to. But when you watch them, you can actually start to notice friction occur 5 minutes earlier. It was just building and building and building and building, and they're noticing it here, and they're misattributing it to this thing over here. They are saying that there aren't enough weapons in the game because they don't realize that that the weapons have a secondary firing function, or the enemy weapon interactions are much more complex than they realize. And that's public playtests are useful, but I would say they are far, far less valuable than an actual in-person playtest. I would rather have that I'm sitting down watching like 20 playtesters individually than I release it publicly and get feedback from 20,000. Because they just, you're a designer. You will recognize things before the playtester does. That's your skill. That's what you're developing. That's customer sensitivity. You start to notice these things. They will tell you the symptoms they have. That's the thing with when you look at EMT communication. They're going to tell you about the headache. You're going to realize that is actually, a gut issue or something else. They're just noticing the headache.
How much is too much feedback?
Oh, when they start telling you how to make your game. Well, if I was making it, I'd do this, and then this would happen. It's like, well, at that point, you're now just playing. It's like you're being an armchair quarterback at that point. Yeah, we want people on the field making the decisions. But I still listen to that feedback because even within that, there could be additional little nuggets of customer friction you didn't notice. Oh, actually, another thing is we do those playtest sessions with as many developers as possible. At the end of the session, I will then ask developers as well, what did you guys notice? I'm like, I noticed these things. Anything I missed? And they'll be like, oh, yeah, they didn't, you notice that they never changed their hat? That kind of thing. I'll be like, oh, shit. I didn't notice that. But yeah, that's a good point. Why didn't they change their hat? We talked about changing hats, but they didn't change their hat. What's up with that? Okay.
One more question.
Yes.
Are there any tips for testing live service games on the boarding process?
Oh, it's the exact same process. Exact same process. Get someone in the game, watch them play. You're looking for bites of friction. I am going to have to call a quick timeout because, as usual, we're just going over time on this. I got to exchange the length of these classes to 2 hours. But let's push on through. So again, fans and not playtesters, you want randomized people out there. All right. So finally, playtest don't dictate, they guide. It's an important thing as well. It is, it is possible to be too sensitive and too reactive. I always like to say the good design is responsive, not reactive. Sometimes someone will say, oh my God, people didn't like this. We absolutely have to change it. Everything's a disaster. It's like, well, okay, they say they didn't like that. Did they actually not like that? Maybe it was something else they didn't like. Maybe that was just a symptom of the underlying issue. That's where you prove your value as a professional. All right. So let's move on to design documentation. How's everyone doing? Do we want to take a 5-minute break? We've been at this for over an hour now. Put your hand up if you want a break. Nope. Okay. Important thing, if you're ever running a meeting, after an hour, people will start to disengage. So if you guys are still engaged, that's great. But yeah, generally any kind of, there's a student showcase I have coming up, and it's 3 hours uninterrupted. And I'm just like, oh, come on, guys. At the end of those 3 hours, everyone's going to be upset. You don't want them checking out student games when they're upset. Why are you doing this? Come on. All right, let's carry on. All gas, no brakes. That's what I like to hear. All right, design documentation. Every designer's favorite and least favorite thing. So why do you even document things? We want to allow designers to organize their creative thoughts. You got so many awesome ideas. Let's fucking wrangle those things. Also, it provides a source of truth for team members. You can point back to the document and say, yeah, we're all doing this. It's how you align people. And it also facilitates effective communication because now people can be looking at it, reading it, and start dialogue. But it's also got some really big issues with design documentation. If it's difficult, it can be difficult to exhaustively predict what a game will be. This is a really common problem, and I see this especially with a lot of junior designers out there. You will write the entire design out on this giant stack of paper and be like, there, this is the game that we will make. You don't fucking know. Honestly, you don't. You're starting at your maximum level of ignorance. You know so little about the market and production realities and timelines and resources. This is a very verbose guess you've made. If you can write a comprehensive design document and have it completely match what you're doing, you're in the wrong industry. You should be a professional lotto ticket player. Like, that's effectively what you've written yourself there, is a very large lottery ticket. If you're that good at predicting the future, just get into the lottery playing business. Another thing is documents rapidly become out of date. No design document like survives the submit button. As soon as you submit it, it is instantly out of date. Because if you're working on, you've got a team. The team is constantly updating things. They're rapidly changing things, and the delta between what the game is and what's said in the design document very quickly starts to expand. What the game is and what we wrote down what the game is going to be quickly changes. So you don't want one of those. But you have a more modern approach to design documents, which I've been using myself, and it's been really useful. We're breaking the design document into 4 different documents. First one is ideation. Then we have a presentation document, a collaboration document, and a just-in-time document. You notice there's an asterisk there because there's a super secret 5th type of documentation. Ooh. All right, jumping in. So first one is ideation. Get creativity flowing. This is you. Anything you need to fucking get the mental juices flowing and start looking at ideas. A whiteboard, a stack of paper, a whole bunch of sticky notes. I know some designers who will just go off and clean their apartment. It's how they get their creative juices flowing. They'll clean their apartment, run over to the computer, work on stuff, go back to cleaning their apartment. It works. We're getting good stuff out of them. Second one is, so after you've gotten the creativity flowing and you've got, the greatest game design tools. So you got like your mess of sticky notes and all that kind of stuff. Whiteboard illustrations. Honestly, dude, I love my whiteboard. This is so fucking handy. Number of times I've just been like, hey, I'm having a hard time thinking of an idea, and I just start whiteboarding it, and all of a sudden, like, the hours of frustration just become wildly clear because I was able to get it out where I could look at it. It's been amazing. I wish I'd had one of these, like, literally decades ago. But for everyone, it's a different thing. Some people it's whiteboard, some people it's sticky notes. So you got your creativity flowing. Next thing you want to do is you got all those great ideas. You got to start making that something. So you want to put together a presentation, which is an appeal for resources. I think this can even be important in a solo document or a solo team. And this was, I am constantly learning, and this was something I saw effectively applied when I was working at Beamdog on MythForce. One of our junior designers at the time just started writing presentations for his design documents. And it was so great because we would just talk to executives, be like, all right, we want to get this enemy or this level or this feature or this system. And we take all those sticky notes and stuff, we put it into a nice PowerPoint presentation. We're like, this is what we're doing. This is why it's important. This is what's going to cost. This is how we pivot. Really important design document. This also becomes a really good resource later on to refer to, so we make sure that we're all on the same page. All right, we got a question. The situation in my studio is that the programmer hasn't played the game at all. They're unfamiliar with common gaming terms like parry, perfect dodge, or iframe. What should I do? We're going to get into that later on. They keep asking me to write a document to explain all these terms. Should I just talk to them and encourage them to play games in the same genre or the ones we are currently working on? We will get to that very specific point. That is the super secret 5th form of design documentation. Carrying on. Next document is you've done your ideation, you've done your presentation. Next thing you want is what's called a collaboration document. It's just saying who works on what. Almost wondering, did I misspell collaboration? I know. We're pushing on. This can take a lot of different forms. This could be a Trello document. I'm on a project right now. Yeah, actually, we are using Trello for this. And it's just saying, okay, this is our objective. Bob's working on this. Susan's working on this. Sato's working on this. And we all know what we're all doing towards our current objective. And if we need some more details, we have that presentation that kind of detailed the stuff. If you really need to get into the nitty gritty, you can look at some of the ideation. So we do capture and upload our ideation documents as appropriate. I'll take photos of the whiteboard and just throw it up into a drive, or put it in a document, what have you. But the collaboration document is really useful. This is the document you give people when they join. They're like, all right, you're working on this feature. Here's your collaboration document. Let you know who to talk to and what we're all working on. Then our fourth level of documentation is just in time, which is how does this thing even work? And this is actually a really critical one. This is something programmers are really familiar with. This is code commenting. You want to be doing equivalent of code commenting throughout the entire development pipeline. We will have meetings about what we name files, what we name folders, because all those are a form of documentation. We're even capturing a little bit of this in your guys' upcoming assignment, where a lot of thought went into file names, and a very specific file name and its application, because this form of documentation is so critical. It's people start interacting with the workspace and they will understand how all this stuff works. This also fixes that issue of we've started modifying this feature and it no longer matches what we wrote from 3 months ago. It's like, hey, when you're working on this, be aware we want this enemy to be very defensively oriented. This part of the blueprint supports that. Or hey, this is a bit of a hack. Make sure you're working on this. When you're working on this system, be aware of this exception, etc., etc. This is so useful. I have seen projects laid low by poor variable names. It's even something, if I'm doing programming, I'll look over and see what they've named their variables, and I can tell you if this is working or not. Because if they're poorly named variables, it's not working. Because no one knows what the hell's going on. So of course it's got bugs. So as for modern design document approach, our ideation, presentation, collaboration, then just in time. But the most important design document, the super secret fifth one, is person-to-person communication. This is the problem you're having with a programmer. Call them over, sit down, and chat about the game while you're playing it. Just be talking. Check in with them. How are things going? What are you finding? This is so critical. And this can happen online. It can happen in real life. I'll just say, bit of a mini rant here. I know so many CEOs that are like, well, we want to get people back in the office so they can have water cooler chats or those little hallway conversations. I've been in the industry for 20 years. I've never seen that shit go down. I've never been sitting there going, man, this is the most productive hallway ever. We keep having amazing design discussions there. We'll chat, but the real good discussions were, hey, Susan, I'm having trouble with this. Can we come over and chat about it? You can do it online. You can do it in person. It's this concept of these magical hallway conversations. I've never seen them. Maybe because I haven't been working at the right companies, but I've never seen those happen. All right. Carrying on. Yeah. So, actually, sorry. Before we carry on, circling back for that programmer, this is the secret. Get a good communication cadence going, and just chat. Have a chatty team. This was actually one of the things I loved about working at Rockstar. Everyone at the studio is constantly talking about the game. Hey, what's going on with this? This has happened. We just discovered a bug in the engine here. Does Bob know about it? No, Bob doesn't. Okay, we'll let Bob know about that because that touches his system. Hey Matt, did you know that the game's crashing when they run into your stuff here? Oh my God, I didn't know that. Let me run over and get that fixed. It's so much better doing that in person because you get, a lot of psychological and social cues that are not communicated in text. And this is also another thing for online communication. If I'm ever having an intense design discussion with someone, I want them on camera so I can see their expression and the position of their shoulders and their head. Because that tells you a lot. That's why our rule for if you're joining us on camera, we got to be able to see your upper body. We got to see this. No avatars or anything like that. It's got to be you on camera, upper body. So I can see Harshad thinking about stuff like he's doing right now. It's great. That was, it's just great. I'll be in design discussions. I'll see people just being super intense. And I'll just be like, okay, Sarah, I can see steam coming out of your ears. What are you thinking about? And, in real life is better, but you get very good communication online as well. I would rather have the best, most talented people on the team and that they're happy and effective than I'm choosing second best just so I can actually be there physically. You want the best people on the team, and sometimes that just has to be online. All right. Okay, suggestion. Some of the questions to be added to a list and tacked on the end. Okay, yeah, this is actually a good point. I want these classes to be conversational, but we maybe are getting a little too conversational. That's why this is an agile program, baby. So we're gonna modify and adjust this going forwards. But excellent point there. We'll find a way of wrangling these questions a little better. So I want to jump into your guys' homework. And this is going to be an important one because we're going to be setting some very important foundations for the rest of the program, in a particular one specific design document that I want to have you guys working with. This was a lot of fun for me because I got to design a design document for you guys. And it's very different, and this captures elements that are industry standard, but this is not an industry standard document, but it is about getting you guys building those design muscles. So this is the FDI Design Workbook. It's a simple Excel spreadsheet where you write down your objectives, and then every week we're going to be iterating on your core design concepts and integrating feedback and lessons. This is what it looks like. This is its overall structure. So, diving into some different elements. You're going to start off by detailing the emotional and philosophical statement of your game, just to make sure we know what you guys are aiming at. Then you write down your customer age, gender, genre, platform. This will be used by people who are reviewing your document, because we're going to start integrating customer feedback, and customer feedback is what we're focused on with this. So this lets us know what your customer is supposed to be. Then below that, you're going to see a series of weekly columns. You will be writing design features and concepts as part of a vertical list along that. And we will see how these lists change from week to week. That's why it's all on one sheet. So each week in the corresponding column for that week, you will write down the assignment topic. I think this is actually, there's a slightly revised version of this that I'm sending out to you guys. And then below that, you're going to write down all your different design concepts, ideation, that kind of stuff. This is a form of ideation and pitch document. So we're combining those two concepts. You should probably do your ideation in a separate document, but this has got an ideation element to it as well. And this is the document we are working from for the rest of the program. So we will see what the game you're making, who it's intended for, and how you are integrating and evolving the design week to week. We are also going to be putting in a customer feedback element to this, but that we'll be detailing that next week. Okay. All right, so I'm just looking at a bit of feedback here about why not both. It's always useful to have a dictionary of terms. Okay. Oh, excellent question from Jimin. So will we go back and fill out weeks 1 through 3 to start? No. And this is actually a really good question. This is something I was thinking about, is I think the numbering on this is a little confusing because we've updated the assignments to have a strong numbering with them. And you know what? I am going to revise the numbering on this. And this is why I want to have chat here, is so that I'll have something that looks good to me. You guys look at it, you're like, well, that's confusing. I'm going to revise the numbering on that. But I'd say for right now, if you want to jump right into this, week 1 would be today's class. I'm probably going to modify that, so it's going to be called assignment 3. This should integrate those assignment numbers closer or more tightly. So yeah, iteration, baby. I don't get everything right. That's why we have discussions, and I get feedback from you guys. That's why at the top of the screen, feedback, email address, because I need to know this stuff. You know, I'm not an all-knowing, all-powerful genie.
Will this document be in the discussions folder?
In the discussion, yes. This document is in the discussions folder. It will be always in the discussions 3 folder.
And we have a new student asking, they just joined the class this week. Should they start the assignment from the third one or go
No.
back to the start?
Please start from the beginning. There's very important assignments you do at the start of the program. You want to get through those first and then come join us here. We're flexible with our due dates because we've got new students joining us all the time. So we want to keep the pressure on you guys, but I understand that, not everyone was able to be here with us at day 1. Okay. So so each week you can have a different design assignment. Your assignment this week is, I want you to build out the game you designed last week with every amazing feature you can. Biggest, boldest. This is the thing, dude. Make your designs bold. Swing for the fences. Like my guidance I give people now is like, go too far and then we can pull it back. That's so much better than being too tame with this stuff. Like, be aggressive. Be surprised. You'll be surprised at how far you can push things before they really start becoming an issue. And then at least you're going to be someplace interesting that will get customers' attention. Like this is one of the big things with there's a bit of an epidemic in the games industry, at least in my opinion, that man, a lot of stuff has gotten really safe and really boring. And I see some pitches and I'm just like, man, it feels like you've just pitched me a D-grade university ethics course. Like ethics is interesting, but not when you do it this way, man. This is fucking dull. So be big, be bold, swing for the fences with this stuff. And I want you to carefully consider each feature. So effectively, week 1, you're writing down, hey, for my game, we're going to have these kinds of weapons, these kinds of enemies. You're just going to go through the features. The exact level of detail to go into those, I'm going to leave those up to you, but try to keep it as a understandable, bespoke list that someone else could understand without being overly verbose. There's a bit of guidance given in the homework or the homework submission form. But I will leave the exact level of detail up to you to determine. And this is going to be, you'll under communicate, you'll over communicate, but we're going to see week to week, we're probably going to see your communication skills improving, which is why we have this format, so we can see your progress. All right. By build out, do you mean actually make a build in a game engine? No, you're just doing this on paper. But for God's sakes, if you want to make a game while you're working on this and like pull in the FDI community, do that. That is great. That's what we do with the Design Professionals program, the paid version of this, the one that Mike Chokesh went through, is that we have you actually make a game. We don't do it on this one because I cannot evaluate 1,000 different student games while being effective. This is the format we can actually have you look through what you're doing and provide meaningful feedback. And you still get to go through a lot of the mental heavy lifting and design work of designing a game, But if you want to make it at the same time, dude, that is fucking awesome. Please do. That'd be great. But make sure you keep up with your weekly homework, please. Okay. So it's an important thing. I want you to love every feature. Look through everything. Be like, that is the best fucking feature ever. And the game is lesser without it. That's your goal here. Every feature's got to be important. Use that as your Occam's razor, I guess. All right. So next week, I'm sure that's fine. Does anyone have any questions?
Could you provide some more examples of just-in-time documentation or documentation in particular?
Yes, I can. So just-in-time documentation doesn't have a formal structure. It's largely, the goal there is, as I'm working on this, the file or resource is telling me directly what I need to know about it. So this can be file names, it can be small notes left within a directory. If I'm programming, it's code comments. If I'm blueprinting, it's blueprint comments. It can be texture names, it can be hierarchies, all this kind of stuff. It's like as you're working on it, just think, is this telling someone who's new to this what they need to know? And remember, that's also reinforced by that person-to-person communication as well. That's why person-to-person communication is so effective. And this is also, one of the reasons we don't do those mountain design documents, because the reality of your project and what's written in the document will rapidly start to deviate, and then people just get confused, and then sometimes it's in the document, sometimes it's not, and eventually people just get frustrated. It's better just to, like I said, just-in-time documentation or have a chat. Can you explain the different phases of playtesting? Yeah, I'm going to go over these very quickly because we did spend quite a bit of time on this. So, phases of playtesting. So, they're not really phases, they're guidelines. Someone new, and you don't direct them. You have them play out loud. So while they're playing, they're thinking, oh, I like this, I don't like this. You just, you want them verbalizing their thought process. While they're playtesting, you're watching the screen and their face. So get yourself in a position where you can watch both of those things. And then at the end, you're asking for feedback. So at the end, it's all finished. It's generally, hey, what did you think? I go with 3 questions. What did you like? What didn't you like? What would you change? And then a couple other details. Have as many people on the design team there as possible, the development team, from executives all the way down to QA. Have them there for the play test. This is critical stuff for them to know. And there was, and after the entire thing, you got everyone there in the room. Ask the other developers, okay, what did you guys think? I noticed these 18 things. Did you guys notice anything else? Well, what I'll do now is we'll do the play test. Everyone's in there. I will dismiss most of the development team, but the design team and the executive team will then discuss the play test. Because I want executive being very aware of what our customer is doing. Okay. Do the powers that be require a more formal design document? Sometimes they do, and I usually have to talk them off the edge on that one. Say, look, you guys can pay me to write it. There was one job I was interviewing with. That was going to be the job. It was going to be like, it was well compensated. My job was just going to be write a tome of a design document for a year, and they were going to take that to investors. And I was like, dude, please don't. Just please. Let's not do this. If investors are impressed with this, you got stupid investors, and I don't want to be attached to a project that's chasing dumb money. Money's got intelligence, guys. Customers are different. Money's different. Just because someone's giving you $50, not all those $50 are the same. All right. Let's see. For very early testing in video games, should the visuals be fleshed out? Hell no. No. So again, with our the design professional course, you guys pitch a game, and then we bring in play testers the next week. Maybe you've only got an empty folder, maybe it's just a title screen, but I want you guys fearing the play test and knowing that play test does not stop. That's another rule I have for play tests. We do not skip them. They're not leg day, man. You have to stick with this stuff. You have to stay focused on it. It has to always be there, and you cannot miss it. I've been on projects where the game has not worked. I still call playtesters into the room, and I just tell them, I said, guys, we fucked up. The game doesn't work. I'm so sorry for wasting your time. Because if I allow the playtest to skip, that becomes a, oh my God, sorry, brain fart. That becomes a excuse for the developers to try to avoid it. They're like, oh, we're not ready. We'll just skip it. We skipped it 2 weeks ago. We can just skip it again. what if we just do it every 2 weeks? What if we just do it every 3 weeks? Well, really, just once a month is all you really need. And then you're not doing them at all, and your project just fucking runs into a wall. So,
We have a
don't
question about this week's homework.
Yes.
After each week's class, if they have an idea like it would be fun if I put a taming element into my survival game, then I would put taming into my sheet.
Yes, exactly. Maybe a little bit more detail than that. And that's another thing I was like, look at if you say like, if you're talking about combat and you just put down defensive combat, that's a little too that's just a bit too lean. But like combat where players must react to enemy strikes and predict future movement, great, perfect. If it's an essay about defensive combat, that is too much. Keep it lean, keep it mean, but effective. All right. Anything else? No hard limit or minimum on these features. I say go nuts. Write down as many as you want, but carefully consider them. Like I said, you want to love every feature of your game. Everyone's got to be critical. So be very careful about how you consider these. Never heard just in time before. It's a new one. It was like honestly just something from working in this. I needed a phrase for that style of documentation. I believe it's a programming phrase of like just in time error handling, compilation, that kind of stuff. It's when you need it, it's there. It doesn't really exist before. So it's like effectively what you want is like when you run into the problem, you're told what the solution to that problem is or what the issue you got to be aware of is. I'm not reading a book and then going out to solve a problem. Yeah. Anything else? When should we expect new assignments to be available in the discussions folder? If not, it's not there yet for me. It should be there. Maybe I've missed something. I'll double check. It'll be available shortly after class. And again, to all of our paladins out there, this is going to be you keeping me focused on this kind of stuff because I want to make sure that there's no dropped balls on this side. All right. Anything else? Okay, so other people are seeing it not there for them. Okay, it's a lot goes in these classes. I must have put it in the wrong folder. I'll move it back over there for you. It'll be there shortly after class. Give me 10 minutes. Okay, anything else? Are we good?
I think we're good.
We done? Oh, yes. I sorry, I didn't understand the task for this week. Oh, good. Yeah, this is great. So what I want is you're going to take the Excel spreadsheet we have. You're going to make another copy of that. That's your copy. You're going to share it. And then you're going to fill out the details of your game in the top left. Then in the column that says week 1, you are going to write down all of your design ideas and features for your game. Just kind of a big column of like game will have this and this and this and this and this is how this will work. This is how this will work. Just write down all the concepts you can. While you're working on the concepts, remember you want to be thinking about 2 things. One is make sure that they are succinct but clear in your communication, and the second one is love every single one of these features. Make them all important. Make them all essential. Okay. So Romance Girl, did that clear it up for you? Oh, drum roll. All right, I think we're good then. Cheers. Thank you so much, everyone.
See you all next week.
This will be getting uploaded, and then I'll also be adding in the course notes, which unfortunately a little late on that one as well. Apologies. Alberta Game Search was very busy, which is great though. All right. Bye for now.
See you next week.
Thanks,
Goodbye.
Matt. Bye. I will never know.
Thank you.